Scribe's retail zoning module allows you to quickly and accurately calculate zones for rating purposes. In order to utilize this module, there are a few changes to your profile required, which can be a little tricky to set up. So if you're interested in using this feature, drop an email to scribesupport@apex-mt.com and we can help you get things set up. If you already have a configured profile and you're ready to start using retail zoning, here's a run through of how it works. Start by opening Scribe and creating a plan using the retail zoning configured profile. Now we'll draw a room as normal and give it a name. Next, we need to define which walls represent the frontage of the building. In this case, I'm just going to set the bottom wall, so select it, hit the three dots icon and set frontage to yes. You'll now see the wall has been shaded in green to indicate its frontage status. To generate the zones, we'll now tap the wall icon and select Zone Line. Straight away we can see that the zones have been created and displayed on the plan, with Zone A near the frontage wall and Zone B starting after the 6.1 metre zone threshold. If we select the top wall and move it upwards, we'll see that Zone C and D are added as Zone B's threshold and then Zone C's threshold are reached. As we didn't define any zones after Zone D, it will extend infinitely as the building is extended. Now let's add an internal wall to form two rooms and see how that affects the zoning. As we can see, the zoning is now cut off where it meets the internal wall. Now let's shorten that internal wall so it only spans part of the area. This time, the area not blocked by the internal wall extends its area all the way to the end of the room, but the section behind the wall is designated as Zone Other as it does not fit into any of the standard zone definitions. If we want the internal wall to be ignored entirely, we can use this by selecting it, tapping the three dots icon and setting Structural to No. We can now see the internal wall has been shaded blue to indicate it is a non-structural wall, and the zones are now showing as if the wall were not present, extending to the end of the room on both sides. Next, if we split the frontage wall in half, we can again see a Zone Other is added, where there is an area not covered by the frontage. If we now set the split half of the wall as frontage, we can see a new set of zones are calculated in line with that new frontage. Sometimes, there may be a frontage on more than one side of the building. If we set the wall on the right to frontage, we can see the direction of the zones has now changed. This is because, in cases where there are multiple frontages that conflict, the longest wall will be selected as the primary frontage, which dictates the zone calculation direction. If you want to manually nominate a different wall as the primary frontage, simply select it, tap the three dots, and toggle primary frontage to yes. When doing this, you'll notice frontage is automatically toggled to no, and the zones recalculate based on the wall you have selected. Any other wall designated as a primary frontage will change to frontage, as there can only be one primary selected at a time. The size of each zone is governed by the default zone size set in the profile, but it is possible to manually modify a zone boundary by selecting it and moving it to the desired position. Once this is done, you will notice that the A icon shown next to the Zone Line button now has a strike through. This indicates that the plan is no longer using the automatic zoning. It's also possible to add additional zone lines by selecting the Zone Line button and then adding a zone boundary, in the same way you would add a wall. This will split the zone into two and both halves will keep the original zone name. If you want to change that zone name, you can tap on it and select a new name from the list. This will change the zone colour to signify the zone it is now part of. If you want to give the zone a name that is not on the list, just select the name again and you'll be able to enter a custom name, but note this will not change the zone colour. If you want to undo your manual changes and revert back to the automatic calculation, simply tap on the A icon and you'll see the changes we made revert back to the previous position. If you want to check the area of your zones, enter Calculate mode and select the Retail Zones layer. From here, you can see all of your zones together, as well as a breakdown of each one. You can also remove any sections you don't want to include, or can reassign any zones you have given a custom name to. Once you're happy with your zones, you can view them in preview by going to Settings and selecting the Retail Zone layer. You can also view a breakdown of the zone area by setting Show Area Page to Yes. Both the preview image and area table can be exported via the export function. And that's it. You should now have everything you need to easily produce accurate zoning models.